At Homegrown on Triple M, and joining me, Marty Wilson-Piper from the church. Now, we've done the That Was Then, This Is Now. All right, so we're going to talk about the new release from you guys, which is Under the Milky Way, from the forthcoming, here we go again, Starfish album. Mm-hmm. Now, as I was saying to you earlier, when I looked at the back of the album here, it's got, now Greg, what's his name? Ladani, yeah. Danani, and Waddy Wachtel, producing credits on this. How did that come about?
They were on a list, and we crossed everybody else off, and they were left.
Really?
Well, you know, I mean, when you're sort of like looking for a producer for a record, you kind of like, you know, somebody comes up with a list of names, and some people can't do it, and some people don't want to do it, and some people you work out wouldn't be right, and then you sort of narrow it down until you end up with the one that you end up doing it with. In this case, it was them.
What was it like? Was it good to work with?
Well, we're in Australia now, aren't we?
Yeah, it's okay.
A long way from America.
Yeah.
It was a tense experience at times.
Really?
It was cultures clash, different worlds meet, and people probably think it's very strange for the church to be doing an album with somebody who produced Toto, Don Henley, and Jackson Brown, you know, and Waddy, who's kind of like considered the king of West Coast session musicians. What actually happened was, I think we both pulled hard at each other and came up with a really good album. So I think that maybe the end result of a quite tense experience has been really, really good.
What's it like to work with someone like Waddy Wachtel as a guitarist?
Well, Waddy's input into the whole thing was he had this. For example, Waddy Wachtel is Stevie Nicks' musical director. I mean, he plays in her group, and that's his role in the band. He kind of like is very good structurally and musically. He has a really good musical sense, you know, and he was. It was really good to sort of go into a rehearsal studio with somebody for four weeks and sort of have them sort of strip the songs down and sort of like get the best out of them, which is I think what he did. Whereas Greg, his role, apart from playing golf, was which he did quite often during the recording.
Good on him.
He didn't actually play golf in the studio. We were expecting that, but it didn't actually happen. But his role was kind of like, he's one of these guys that's just got ears, you know. He's a man with ears, you know. And like he just comes in the studio every now and then, every hour or three, and pushes a few buttons and, you know, moves a few faders and goes, "That's how it's supposed to sound," you know. And like
then back out on the golf course.
And then back out on the golf course for more inspiration, you know.
If I could get a job like that.
Yeah.
So how many songs did you go into the studio with? Were you armed with plenty?
Well, we sort of had 11, I think, really. Right. We had 11 songs. One which church goers would know of, Frozen and Distant, was one which we intended for the record but didn't actually end up getting on there. That was the first song we really had for it. But we had 10 other songs which were a collection of songs we'd written together, and one of Steve's and one of mine and one of Peter's. Two of Steve's. And we actually apart from this one song which we went in with, which we didn't actually end up using for the album, we sort of wanted to kind of concentrate on the ones that we had, you know, like the ones we already worked on and thought about would be suitable for the record. Steve had another couple of demos which actually ended up putting on his last solo record.
Right. Okay. Well, let's play the track Under the Milky Way. But before we do that, we must say happy birthday to Marilyn.
Oh God, Marilyn!
Yeah, we almost forgot. Marilyn, happy birthday.
Happy birthday, Marilyn. How's Boy George?
No, not that.
Oh, sorry.
No.
Sorry.
Marilyn is a girl, a woman.
Oh.
She's turning 30. See,
a woman.
I did it last week. Now everybody's doing it.
A woman or a girl?
A woman. And
how old is she?
We wish you a happy birthday. 30.
Oh, she's 30.
Oh, we shouldn't probably say that. She's probably 23 or something. Anyway, that's that. This is this. The church. Under the Milky Way. Yeah, all right. Triple M in stereo with Spy vs. Spy there from their forthcoming album.
Wow.
Xenophobia. Why? Do you know what xenophobia is?
Yeah.
Good. Do you want to tell me?
Isn't it something to do with foreigners?
Fear of things foreign.
Yeah.
And that's why the album's called Xenophobia. Why? We here at the M's are calling it Xenophobia when? Because it hasn't been released yet.
You should have called it Xanthos Xenophobia.
Why?
Because Xanthos Xenophobia means fear of blonde people.
Does it really?
Yeah.
Oh, lucky I don't have one of those. Before that we had Under a Milky Way. Hello, Gail. Under a Milky Way from the church, some new stereo from the church. Marty Wilson Piper is joining me. Now, how do you... just getting back to... I'm speaking Spanish. To selecting songs on the album, do they sort of select themselves almost, Marty, or what happens?
Yeah, they do.
Yeah.
The songs, you stand in a rehearsal room and you hear a knock on the door,
right,
and all the songs walk in one by one,
right,
and they say, me, I should be on the record.
Hello, I'm here for the album.
Yeah.
Just put me on here. I'd like to be on side 2, please.
Yeah, right.
Right, so when is the album out?
In March sometime.
Is it out anywhere else in the world at the moment?
I think it's coming out reasonably simultaneously, isn't it? March. March.
That little silence there was Sumikole nodding.
Yeah, March the 7th, I think it comes out around the world.
Right, now you're working tomorrow night, then when do we see the church again?
No, we're playing tomorrow night.
Oh, sorry, playing tomorrow night, sorry. This is work, that is play.
Right, yeah.
Right, this is the work part. Then when we see you again, when we see the church?
Well, we just got this week in Sydney, and then Saturday in Newcastle, and then we go to Europe and America and Canada for the whole of March and most of the beginning of April. We come back 21st of April, and we're going to do 2 weeks in Australia before we go back to America to do another US tour, and then we're going around the world a couple more times.
Jet-setting lifestyle.
Yeah,
You know.
so we're going to go to Japan and South America as well.
Are you?
Yeah.
I'll be here, Marty.
You'll be here?
Yeah, I'll be here.
I'll be thinking about you.
Broadcasting, you won't.
I will.
No, you don't even spare me a thought while you're out there romping around the world.
Romping.
That's
a new word for it, Paul.
Yeah, could be on the top of the rider. Here, a quick romp. Fancy a quick romp? Yeah, right, why not? I've forgotten my next question now. You've totally thrown me with that. Look.
The man who threw Paul Holmes.
Yes, down the flight of stairs. Right. We're going to come back in just a moment with small talk. Eccles is supposed to ring. I don't know what happened. I think the lunchtime concert on the back of the truck. Maybe he's been arrested. Which is not good news for the record company. So we'll be back with small talk, and Marty is going to help me out with small talk and several other things.
Small talk.
With the rhinoceros chorus there. See, they came in and recorded that especially for us. And helping me with small talk tonight in Eccles' absence is Mr. Marty Wilson Piper. Would you like to lead off, Marty?
I certainly would. Midnight Oil are currently in New Zealand on a sellout tour till the end.
The church album. I've turned you off now, Eccles. Let's talk about him quickly. You know what he does with those. No. Anyway, all the best with the album.
He's not one of those rompers, is he?
Yes, he likes a good romp. And we'll see you tomorrow night at the Tivoli in beautiful downtown George Street, Sydney. And then see you when you get back. All the best with everything anyway.
Be early.
Oh, yeah?
Oh, yeah.
Struth. Leave early tomorrow night then. Hope you don't mind, listener, whoever's left. Thank you very much, one and all. And we'll leave you with the Triffids, Bury Me Deep in Love.
Reasons I like what I hear, but he does a magnificent job on that, considering he's must be about 54.
Yeah, he's older than me.
Oh, Stephen, you still look about 22 to me.
Oh.
Whoa. Just make sure you...
The other leg's the same.
That's right. Yeah, listen, so this, the Starfish resurgence of the band, the re-emergence, what about England? I haven't heard very much about the English charts.
We've done stuff all in England. It's funny, we go over to England, we just played the Town and Country Club, which holds about 2,500 people, absolutely packed out, and they went absolutely crazy. But the album itself, isn't doing anything. Not a sausage. It's strange. It's doing quite well in Germany. It's top 30 in Holland, but nothing in England.
You say you're very busy and you're very stressed, which you obviously are under a lot of pressure. But
got any Mandy's there, George?
What have you? Okay, that'll be $2.50 each. Actually, what do you do in your spare time to...
What spare time?
Well, but I mean...
What spare time?
Do you meditate or something? How do you counteract the stress?
I don't.
You don't?
When I was in... It's funny, I don't know what a nervous breakdown is, but when I was in Minneapolis, I began shaking and crying, and my manager's going, "Why are you crying? Your album's number 50 with the bullet." And I was just, I don't know. And anyway, I went to the doctor, and he said, "You must have a holiday for 3 weeks. You must have a holiday." My manager said, "He's got a holiday next week." And my holiday was spent on everyone's holiday was spent on a train between Washington and New York. And that was our day off. Because, there isn't any spare time at this stage. It's just like, and the phone's ringing all the time, and like, it's just crazy,
Destination New York City, how can you possibly have a holiday? That would take away anything you'd relaxed for the week before. Frantic.
That's right. No, I don't know. I mean, I'm really happy with everything that's happening, but just inside myself, it's just chaos.
We'll have to stop talking, because when I said destination, there was a cue for the song.
Very clever of you, George.
Thank you, Stephen. FM with Stephen sitting over there.
I just noticed your name's G Wayne.
GG.
What does the second G stand for?
GC, you mean?
GC. What's the C stand
Christian.
for? George Christian Wayne. That's the sort of name you see in the court reports, isn't it? George
Yes.
Christian Wayne appeared in court.
Thanks a lot, Stephen. As we just talked this morning to Bob Bottom, you should whisper that. Listen, who are you going to be supporting, or who's... Well, what am I saying?
George.
Who you be playing with, or who will be supporting you in America?
I don't know. I've just found out that my favourite group at the moment is Luxuria, which is Howard Devoto from Magazine's new group. I just found out that we could have had them supporting us in the States.
Don't you choose normally?
Well, we do choose, and our agent was saying, choose someone. Everyone we chose was unavailable, or, At the moment, we've got the Mighty Lemon Drops.
Right.
Are going to be playing with us. There's a vague possibility the Triffids might be doing something, but I'm not sure about that.
In America?
Yeah, there's a possibility, yeah.
Right. Mighty Lemon Drops are great, though.
Yeah. We're a bit wary. I mean, I'd like to play with another Australian band, but I'm a bit sort of wary about this Australian package type, the Aussie Invasion type number, which we get all the time. It's like everywhere you go in the world, you do interviews and they're saying, why is Australian music so popular? What do you think it is about, Australian music, and what's the Australian sound, and all this sort of stuff.
And Stephen, being Stephen, says what?
I say, there's nothing in the water down there that's sort of making us... I think it's just as silly to say, because the church, Midnight Oil and In Excess are successful, that there's got anything more to do with Echo and the Bunnymen, Rick Astley and, the Smiths, there's... Just because we all happen to live from the same place geographically, there's absolutely no connection between us at all.
Silly questions like I probably was in my very first interview with you. Do you remember that?
No. What did you say then?
I'd rather forget it. Just one sec there, Steve. What?
Bob.
We're in the middle of a Stephen Kilby interview.
Oh, I beg your pardon?
Rock. Get away. Stephen, before you go, tell us something that we don't know about you yet.
About me?
Or the band.
Of what kind of nature?
Don't throw the ball back at me.
Oh, God, what can I tell you? I'll tell you, my pet hates at the moment is noise. I've been going around the world staying in hotels, and there's always someone hammering or banging, or construction going on, or a noisy couple in the bedroom upstairs making the bed springs squeak all night. I've just got this absolute fetish about noise where it just takes a gnat sneezing outside the door. I sort of wake up and I can't get back to sleep. So,
you know what I've noticed about you in the last year? You've actually shown that tendency in your musical tastes a little bit as well, probably because of pressure. You get back and you prefer listening to
ambience
rather than heavy.
Yeah. Well, I never really liked heavy rock, but
that's a bit of an audience trend as well.
ambience.
Well, it has become a bit of, yeah, people are, I think, a larger part of the audience are into slightly more ambient music.
Yeah.
Not ambience per se, but more ambient music.
Yeah. I'm looking for music that I can sort of fall asleep on an aeroplane to. You know, like...
When you get on the plane, do you listen to those channels? Those music channels?
Never.
Or do you take a Walkman?
Never. I take a Walkman and listen to...
what do you tune?
Oh, I listen to, like, David Sylvian and Eno and, you know, Bill Nelson. And so stuff that, as I say, stuff I can fall asleep to. I've got one of those Walkmans, just goes round and round and round, so it...
Right.
You know...
Continuous loop.
Continuous loop.
Look, Steve, thank you very much for coming in. We had to see you before you go.
Okay,
I know
George.
I know you're
Is
very
my check
busy.
in the mail?
Your check's in the mail, I think. That's you owe us one, actually.
Ah, you are.
No, if you could just close your eyes and imagine the plane is taking off now, once again for America.
Yeah. Oh,
Whoosh,
no.
off we go. What track should we pop in? Maybe Brian Eno or...
Have you got all Eno's stuff? Got On Land?
I think so.
Lizard Point from On Land.
Lizard Point.
From On Land.
From On Land.
Yeah.
And then we'll get into one of yours.
Okay.
And wish you and the band all the best. You don't need very much success. You don't need very much good luck wishes because you're doing very well over there, but it's still going to be strenuous.
Thanks,
and you'll
good.
be back in September.
I will, good.
Right.
I will.
Stephen, thanks once again.
Okay.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
See you. Bye-bye.
To our studio. When the record company representative arrived at the hotel to pick Marty up, he just couldn't raise the church musician. Perhaps he'd gone out. A search through local eateries unearthed church singer Steve Kilby, who advised that Marty was a heavy sleeper. So it was back to Marty's door. But not even the extra knocking of a couple of enthusiastic choir boys members helped. Eventually, the hotel management had to be summoned to unlock the door. And yes, Sleeping Beauty was inside, but too late to come to Take 40 Australia. It was time to catch the plane out to Marty's next commitment, black coffee in hand, presumably. Wade recovering 5 places and moving back up to the 12 spot this week. Next.
An A suspended fourth, which kind of sounds quite... It's the second note, it sounds quite strange, which you probably wouldn't tend to do if you were just writing a song on the guitar. So I attribute it all to this piano and the fact that it was a kind of a starry, sparkly night, and sat down and the finger of God sort of went directly into my brain and I wrote this song. And, you know, the rest is history.
81, a song that the band always gets requests for no matter where they play.
I think Almost With You is about the one constant song we've been playing since I wrote it back in about 1981. I mean, we always play it in the set, and it's a kind of it is the epitome of the church thing. It's got the, you know, the jingle jangle guitars and the Spanish guitar solo from Peter Coppice. I think we'll always do that one. It's sort of when we sit down and make up a set list, it's sort of Almost With You is automatically in there, you know, like all the others come and go, but that one's just kind of firmly entrenched in the repertoire forever, I think.
The epitome of the church sound, I'm Almost With You, from their 1981 album Blurred Crusade.
This is Homegrown. It's always hard to start these interviews, folks, and this one is not particularly hard. It's just always hard.
Especially after the preceding conversations.
Yes. We have a little chat before you do it. And I must welcome Marty Wilson-Piper to the microphone here at Homegrown. And we're going to talk about the Starfish album from the church. Firstly, having listened to, because I work on the air, I hear a lot of radio plays, early church music, and because I've known the band for a while, listen to this album, it seems to me this may get really esoteric and you can shoot me down in flames if it does, but it seems to be an expansive sound that the church may have consciously been working towards is sort of more focused on this album. It seems to be bigger and broader.
It's less embellished, therefore has more space and consequently fits into the airwaves easier.
Right. Moving right
Thank you
along.
very much. Good night.
Good night. Thank you very much. That was Martin Wilson Piper, and that's the church. There you go, in one sentence. It's difficult to talk specifically about lyrics on this album.
It's difficult to talk.
It's difficult to talk full stop. Okay, so let's mumble. But we'll talk about a track that the lyrics are sort of credited to you. The song is called Spark. Tell us about Spark.
Spark is a song which I wrote while I was doing some acoustic solo gigs in Sydney just for a bit of a laugh.
And a bit of money.
Well, I mean, you don't make much money doing
No, you're right.
it, really. I mean, you don't make much money when you pull a couple of thousand people, you know, by the time you paid all your bills. But it was a song that I did for my acoustic shows. When I was doing those acoustic shows, I suddenly discovered that I could write a song and play it the next night, you know? I mean, instead of like, what usually happens is you write a song, and by the time you get to play it live or record it or whatever it is, you know, like 10 years have gone by, you know. And like Spark, I wrote one afternoon, and I think I actually played it the same evening, you know. So, this is a new song. I wrote it about 3 o'clock, you know. And there it was. There I was on stage doing it. Now, that song just worked really well as an acoustic song. I went on the Noise and did a couple of live acoustic songs on the Noise. And of course, the guys in the band saw me do that, and You Whisper, which is a song off my new solo album, which is coming up, which is another thing, of course. But Spark, the guys really liked as a song, and they wanted to record it. And also, you know, it's funny how we ended up doing that one of mine, because on the same show that everybody saw that, I did this song called You Whisper, which is on Art Attack, which is coming soon. And, you know, people do tend to sort of say about this song on this album that it's the kind of the hardest hitting song. It's the, you know, it's got a certain part of it is out of place because it's not so deeply mysterious as all the other songs. Now, I don't know whether that's a good or a bad thing. Now, they could have chosen the other song that I did, which was called You Whisper, which is a beautiful atmospheric chord progression and lyrical song with lovely lyrics, you know, and probably would have fitted atmospherically better into Starfish, you know. But the fact is, what's the point of that, you know? What's the point of me contributing songs like that when Steve writes songs like that all the time, you know? I think that the thing with Spark was that it was a different song. It did have a more pop sort of side to it. It was the hardest hitting song on the album, so that was what made it relevant. And I just got, you know, a lot of people really like that song a lot, you know. I sort of, I got a review in there was a review in Australian Rolling Stone that said everything works but Spark, which is swamped by its rockist overtones. You know, I mean, for Christ's sake, you know, it's hardly what's it called on this album that we were just talking about before? How's this classic? Kids Wanna Rock, you know,
Bryan Adams.
by Bryan Adams, you know. I mean, it's hardly Kids Wanna Rock, you know. It's got a melody and it's got some sort of like interesting lyrical content, you know. But I think that the song is there because it doesn't necessarily sound like everything else. That's the point, for Christ's sake.
Yeah.
You know, do you think we're trying to write the same song every time we write a song? I don't know if we're trying to capture the same... Well, I'm certainly not trying to capture the same thing as everybody else in the band is. I want to do lots of different things, and that's songs kind of just one side of me which fits interestingly into the church because it's a side the church doesn't really have. You know, that's its point for being there.
Well, let's listen to it. This is Spark from Starfish. Triple M in stereo with the church there, and Spark from their Starfish album. I didn't really detect that many rockist overtones. Did anybody, the studio audience, detect rockist overtones in that one?
From the church. This is a little sad to hear, but Steve recently told us that it was more fun playing overseas than in Australia.
Well, actually, we've toured more in Europe than America. It's sort of a promo tour, which means, which is another way of saying you're going to be rushed around really quickly, not get a chance to relax and do lots of interviews. Every night's been sold out. Everywhere we've played's been sold out except one gig in Milan and one gig in Copenhagen. And the response has been absolutely phenomenal. In fact, it's almost a bit disappointing playing in Australia again after the response we have been getting overseas. It's sort of the Australian response isn't quite as overwhelming.
The Church have a new compilation album coming out soon, so we'll wind up tonight's show with one of those classic tracks that you'll find on the new album due out in a couple of weeks. Here's Almost With You.
Under the Milky Way, the 1988 sound of the Church, which has found considerable favour in the United States as Australia rocks the world. This is Glenn A. Baker.
A new self-titled album, Don't Need Love, which won an award for Best New Talent. The band won the award for Best New Talent on Monday night. Before that, Church, Best Australian Single, Under the Milky Way from Starfish, and also crowded